Get in motion. Right, we're going.
Sorry about it.
Right, no, that's it.
Technical issues.
Right, we're laughing now.
Right.
We're laughing.
So basically, Ivy wants to do a promo for Nice and Sleazy to try and attract a few more punters. But I'm also doing a punk documentary also, if I don't know if you mind asking a couple of questions about that as well.
Yeah.
Have you, obviously Charlie Harper, UK subs, have you played here before, or is this the first?
We have, a couple of times, yeah.
If somebody talked to you about this, if you tried to sell this event to somebody, what would you say about it? What's its
It's
features?
the coolest little punk festival on earth.
That's the vibe. Everyone says it's like a family. It's just about
completely non-commercial. I mean, I just went to the Media Theory, and that's gone up to 10,000 people, and it's it's a brilliant festival, really brilliant festival. And that started like just a few punks, traveller punks and stuff like getting it together, and but now it's like this year Glastonbury had a rest, and every better not say it from Glastonbury's kind of come to filled out the other festivals,
Is that a good idea?
But Glastonbury is like it started, that started in a great way, but that's got overly commercial. The BBC took over it, and maybe that's why they dropped it, because it's over commercialised. They probably want to rethink, start again, It's like that, the BBC are kind of, took over the festival thing, and it's not like rock festival, it's just pop shit,
But this is why I want to make my own documentaries, because I was involved in the punk scene in 1977. And
but as long as the kids are enjoying themselves, I've got nothing against it. But don't fucking kill yourselves.
No, I won't advise it.
Take more drugs.
There you are, you've heard it from Charlie.
You silly cunts.
But the reason I want to make my own documentaries is because I like watching music documentaries, but it seems to me they're just telling a lie. It's like, here's all the bands we've made famous, and a lot of people, whatever genre of music is, kind of get airbrushed out of it. And these guys were kind of pivotal to these movements forming wherever you're from. So I thought I'd have a go at doing it all myself.
Do.
Right, I've got a good will message from you. I went to see the Morecambe set the other week. I used to follow Adam and the Ants a lot back in them days, and I was talking to Andy Warren.
Oh, right.
And we were talking about. I did a film at Nevermind the Borders.
He kind of was in the subs, really.
Well, this is what I was saying. He said, "Say hello." But there's a bit of history there that I didn't know. I'd never heard of them.
He was also in Bazooka Joe.
I'm not sure he was in Bazooka Joe.
Yeah, I think he was in.
He was in the B-sides with Bid and Leicester Square and Adam, I think. And then the
I think he might have been in the. He might be in the Ants.
It was in.
He might have been in the Ants. Early Ants. Yeah.
Well, Andy was the first bass player.
Yeah,
he was there the whole way through. But I was talking the other week, and I was in that Nevermind the Baubles documentary with, I forgot his name, Julian Temple. And we were on about the Clash gig, because Julian said, I've got these gigs that no one's ever seen. I said, well, people are dying out, if you don't get them out now. And he put
before we die.
And he put the Clash one out on the BBC, the Clash gig. And this is how the conversation started. I was talking to Andy about that gig, and he says, I was going to go to that gig. I think it was December the 6th, 1976, but I was playing in Charlie Harper's band, the Marauders.
That's right, yeah.
And I said, I'd never...
Good bass player, good, cool guy he was, yeah.
Well, Andy, cross legs. So anyway, he told me to say hello.
All right.
And I think the first time I saw you was in this gig in Cone. And I couldn't, the guys on the door wouldn't let me. There was an Asian punk from Bradford called Kenny, I don't know if you remember him, Morecambe. He was a big subs fan. He hired a double-decker bus from Bradford for us all to go and see you in Corn. And we got to this gig, and there was this local lad who was trying to start a fight between Yorkshire and Lancashire. He was just being a dickhead, and we had a bit of an altercation. And they wouldn't let me in. And they had a window at the side there, it was open, and you were sat there. And you went to the door at the front. You didn't know me, I'd never been before. Oh, no, we're doing an interview.
Oh, Charlie's first.
Me first.
And you just said, oh, I'll get you in. And then you went to the door, and then they let me into the gig. So I never got a chance to say thanks for that, because you finished your drink and then went backstage. So thanks for that one.
You know, I'd like to get many people in as free as I could, because I used to be an advocate of free music, because, like you said, the Marauders, before the subs, we played for free everywhere, and we just got bar money, you know. And I just say to the guy, you know, give us what you think we're worth, you know. And sometimes they give us just like 30 quid, which more like 300 quid these days.
A lot of money with a pint then.
And so, you know, he give us it, and he'll say like, and then he'll see like 100 people in his pub, or he's never seen before. So he's like, oh, could you come back? Well, you'll have to give us about 80 quid next week, you know. And he did. And it kind of went up like that, you know. So they gave us what they thought we were worth, you know. And yeah.
So how did the punk story start with you? And that's obviously pre-punk. So where did the punk connection start?
Well, it started, you know, when I was in the Marauders, we were more or less a punk band. In fact, we had a poster which, you know, the punks were the band. And I was already 30 years old. Me and me, not gang, just friends, girls, you know, you know, and we'd look for watering holes after all the pubs shut. Pubs shut at 11 o'clock in them days.
Yeah.
So we'd try and find these little places where you can drink later, and then we go from 11 o'clock pub, and then we go to a Dutch pub open till 1 o'clock, and then we try and find somewhere open till 3 or 4 o'clock. And one of the places was a club called Shagaramas, and it was a lesbian club, but it was the days of David Bowie, and I, you know, like we were kind of made up and everything, and couldn't tell if we were girls or boys, and so we got into Shagaramas, and then we hadn't been there for a couple of months, and go down there again, and it all changed, and there's all these kids outside with leather jackets and spiky hair, and went in there, and it was a rock scene. There was bands on every night. Shagaramas only had bands on Friday nights, so you know the Roxy had bands on every night. And then I set my band, you know, I was going down there regularly. I thought, this is fucking brilliant, you know. And I said to the band, look, I've seen the future of rock and roll. This is it, you've got to come down. But my band were all school kids. Right. Andy was like 18 or something.
I think he's 2 years older than me. I think he's just gone. It was his birthday the other week when I went. So he's 60, I'm 50. I just left school in
there you go, 40 years ago. Yeah.
So he would have been 18 he was.
Yeah,
17 would have been.
Anyway, so, you know, my band, you know, they didn't go down there for a while because they were college kids, they had no money. And, you know, when they did go down there, they go, well, Charlie, we want to be a punk band, you know, like, I said, well, I'm too old for this, I'm an old blues man, you know, and go ahead, form a blood, you know. And the same week, my flatmate went to a party, met Nicky Garrett, and said, oh, Charlie's looking for a band, he needs, you know, guitarist. And the bass player stuck with me, he said, like, he'll stick with me until I get a replacement. And he's Steve Slack, and his brother finally replaced him, Paul Slack, you know. And, you know, and Nicky didn't like rock and roll or playing the blues, so, you know, we started writing our own stuff, and, you know, in a few days we got like set together, and because in them days I had residencies everywhere over London, you know, like, so, you know, I had to play, you know, like Saturdays coming, so, you know, we had to rehearse every day and get the set together quickly. The next weekend we were playing, you know, but my flatmate was playing my songs on guitar and on lead, rhythm guitar, and Nicky was just doing leads over him, you know. So we had two guitarists then, because Nicky didn't know that, you know, like, he just knew what the key was in, and he went away, done a little guitar solo, which he was brilliant at, you know, and yeah, so we were away again, you know, and that was it.
What was your favourite venue back then? Did you have a favourite venue? Or?
Well, the Roxy was a brilliant venue. It was a room not much bigger than this room, and the stage was at that end, and people came down the stairs from upstairs, come down this little stairway down to the side of the stage, and you know, you stand there and at a bar upstairs, and I think might have had a little bar downstairs at one time, but you know, like you see all your mates coming in, who's coming in, you know, like I mean, in them days, it was like a big thing, you know, punk rock was, you know, and you might get like actresses, actors, and all kinds of people. So everyone was watching who's coming down the stairs, you know. Yeah, it was quite a little scene. You know?
I never got a chance to go down there, but I wish I'd have moved to London in 1977.
And the people I was drinking with on the bar, which was upstairs, the Clash guitarist,
Mick Jones.
yeah, Mick Jones. So there was always one person. You know, all these bands were like really pop stars, you know, but there'd all be one person who was a human being, and he'll have a drink and a chat to everyone, you know. Mick Jones was the guy in the Clash to do that. He wasn't frightened to go out and, you know, talk to anyone, because to a lot of people it was very intimidating. We were kind of like ex-bikers, you know, and it was a rough old scene, you know, in the early days. And the kind of the students who kind of, even I think Johnny Rotten was slagging off students or something, you know, they were a bit wary coming down there, you know, but I think most of the punks were students in them days. But there was a kind of little bit of rough and gangster element involved, you know. The people who run the clubs were like gangsters and stuff, or dare I say perverts, you know. They used to have these little, you know, like young teenage kids running around, you know, like. So it was a seedy little scene. It wasn't like things are now.
All that stuff would have been going on in the 60s, starting to be the carry on from that. My recollections of the early punk days, what I loved about punk was, if you liked any band, I could go and talk to them. But like I said, I remember keeping up football with Ultravox backstage. You don't know who brought football to me.
Yeah.
And I sat up till 6 o'clock.
Well, even the Damned were accessible. They'd be out in the crowd having a laugh with anyone, you know. But yeah, there's a lot of bands who kind of terrified of their own audience, which was weird.
I walked to see the Sex Pistols at Huddersfield last day, Christmas Day, 1977, and John Lydon came up to us and tapped a fag off us. And it was just like me and you just talking out. And I found that incredible. Like you say, even though punk was against...
John Lydon is a courageous bastard, you know, like he's Irish, he's got guts, you know, like, but a lot of people didn't, you know.
But he was so down, that's what struck me. You know, I was 16-year-old, even though punk was against pop stars, he still seemed like a pop star because they were in the media all the time. So come and talk to us. That was massive for me because, you know, that had a massive impression on me.
I mean, yeah, the Sex Pistols was one of, I mean, they were kind of like the true punk. They didn't care, you know.
I never really liked the Clash, really, but a lot of people did.
I love the Clash, but then again, they, you know, Mick, who I know to speak to, and you know, really genuine, lovely person, you know. But you know, everyone worships Joe Strummer, rightly so. But he was, you know, like a cold, calculating kind of, you know, like his dad was a politician, wasn't he?
He was at an embassy,
you know,
like diplomat.
You know, and he had that kind of thing in him, you know. But you know, without Joe Strummer, we'd lose half the great music.
Well,
you know?
True. I always thought the Clash were like voyeurs that were singing about everybody else doing stuff, whereas the Pistols and Lydon in particular were actually doing it themselves. That's the impression I got about the Clash.
Yeah. Well, you hit something on the head there, because in the old days, every band was completely different. You know, like Clash and the Clash and the Sex Pistols were miles apart in their tunes and style and everything. Susan and the Banshees come up, completely different. X-Ray Specs, completely different. Adamant, you know, every band sounded completely different.
That's what punk was about to me. That's what I love, the diversity.
Yeah.
You know,
whereas I kind of getting sick of kind of punk rock thing. I kind of listen for other things, but everyone's guitar, us included, is like generic Gibson sound, and I'm getting quite sick of it. And the subs, when they're going to get, you know, like recording again, they're trying to get away. Our guitarist brought a Handstrom, Swedish guitar. You know, they're quite well known, but not that well known, and they're not really using punk. And he said, "Oh, you won't like this guitar, Charlie. I won't use it for the subs." And I said, yeah, that Handsome Viking, that's brilliant. You've got to use it on the next record, you know, you know, I'm looking for
but that's
different ways of doing punk rock.
You can't just keep doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah.
Right. Punk was often stereotyped in the media as being quite violent and obnoxious and stuff like that, but in my
But it is, isn't it?
but not in a violent way. I always saw punks as...
You know, I was in the dressing room with the Ruts 2 days ago, and we were talking about the old days and how violent and horrible it was, and you know, I mean, the Ruts are big people, they can take care of themselves, they're all like 6 foot, and what's his name, the singer was a real hard nut. Malcolm. You know, he was a hard nut, so he could take, but they had some really dodgy days, dodgy nights, you know.
I saw them play, I saw them supporting them in it, and I thought they were awful in 1979, and they played the Royal Standard in Bradford well, I think they were about the Sunday after.
That was a bit of a dodgy place.
Yes.
You know, Malcolm Fairplay was a little bit, you know,
Malcolm,
I mean,
remember Malcolm?
yeah, I mean, I got on great with the guy, but he was a bit British movement kind of, you know.
The places in the room when Big in Japan played.
But he you know, he done great for.
He did great for us.
You know.
Well, you know, all the bands played. You lot played there with the Pack. You probably played there a few times.
Yeah. No, you know, he was a great guy, but he was like a little bit racist.
Well, Jane Casey out of Big in Japan took him to court because he called somebody a packy. But the Asian guys used to come up. The Asian guys used to turn up in a car for the taxis, and I remember Angelic Upstarts came once and they had that pig's head, and the Asian punks themselves put it in the car because we had a lot of Muslim punks in Bradford, and they put it in the car, and the Asian driver wouldn't get it. He says, "We're really having a laugh."
Do you remember Pakistani? I think he was a drummer, Kenny.
That's what I'm on about, Kenny. The little guy with the mohawk.
Was he the singer? I can't remember.
He was a singer, he had his own pub band. I forgot what he used to send me tape because '79 I'd got a bit, but it was a sort of exploited.
And his drummer became a racist. That's right. His drummer joined the fucking British movement.
Well, Kenny changed his name because Kenny's dad.
Did Kenny try to join the NA?
But he was a Leeds fan.
I can't believe that.
He did.
Skinhead.
I got told he tried to join him.
Skinheads loved him. Skinheads loved him. He was a Leeds fan, and first time I met Kenny, 1977. We'd just been at university. We were in a curry
He was
house.
the sweetest little guy.
Yeah, and he was dressed as John Travolta, and he come up to us in International. He says, "What are you?" He says, "We're punks." Week after, he turned up at the gig dressed as a punk, and he came in with his suitcase. I said, "What are you doing?" I said, "My dad said," his dad was a diplomat, a Celanese diplomat or something, and he said, "You either be a punk, or if you stop at home, you can't be a punk." So he packed his suitcase and he never went home. But I forgot what his proper name was, but I think he changed it by default because he wanted to sound more English.
I only know he was Kenny.
But
I ain't seen him for about 20 years.
he's still about. I went to see him not so long ago. See, I loved Kenny.
Yeah, you know, he was a drinking buddy. You know,
He used to send me. See, when I saw Exploited, that put me off punk. If I'm honest. And that he loved the Exploited as well. I met him outside his house in Blenheim, and there were two of them who tried to stick up some puppy's ass. And I thought, what the fuck's that shit about, man? And so that put me off him as well. But
With diversity.
I've got to do. Do you think punk changed anything in long term?
it's changed the world. It's changed the fucking world, and it will go on changing the world. In 200 years' time, you know, people will catch up to the punk rock theory that there is no God, religion is just pants. I'm not defending anyone here.
I ain't got any pants, it's okay.
and everyone will be equal. You know, people will accept everybody, every race as equal, women as equal, everyone will be treated as equal. Everything will happen like that, but it's going to take 200 years, and punk will start it off, has started it off. You know, like we don't see people through colour or people, you know, less,
Just
men and women, everyone's equal, you know, and
but these were the issues
you
that we
know,
were fighting.
animal rights, everything. And this is the root of it will be in punk, but it's going to take 200 years.
But that's what we were talking about in 1977 though. You know, I just saw
Yeah, but it's already, you know, you see punk writing everywhere, punk design everywhere, you know. Some people take it the wrong way and try and make a nice place look shit, you know. You know, we're trying to make shit look good,
nice.
You know.
But we're either all equal, or we're all at peace, or nobody's at peace and nobody's at equal. Politics nowadays, we've still got victims, and there's always got to be a scapegoat.
I'll tell you what, there's, you know, right now, because of all, like, you know, religion and politics and all the shit, like, people. Forgot the point I was going to say. Next question, block that one out. I'll think of it in a minute.
Because I'll get edited. Can I ask you, John, just to jump in, because punk was not my genre. Punk was not my genre, but I knew like Johna and a few lads who used to go, and I wanted to go for the buzz and that lot. And I've seen you a few times, even though I wasn't your greatest fan or the greatest sort of like UK subs fan. But what I always got were honesty. When you were on stage,
Thank you.
I got honesty. You said, sang, breathed, and believed in what you were doing. And I absolutely loved that about you.
No, thank you.
But isn't that what it's about though, being authentic?
What music are you into?
I'm more two-tone.
Oh, right.
So when the specials and all that lot came out,
yeah.
I mean, punk was just before, and I'm more finding my own identity.
Yeah.
So it was like I was going around with lads who actually had an identity, but I didn't have one.
Yeah.
So as I got a little bit older, and then Two Tone came out, it was like, this is me.
Brilliant.
This is all about. This is what I feel. Now, I mean, nothing against punk or anything like that, but it was someone else's, and I was following them. This was my own. But the times I saw you play it live, I just saw honesty and straight up 100% enthusiasm about what you were doing, and I love that energy.
This is what another good thing about punk. It's kind of raw, cut to the bone kind of music. You know, it didn't used to have any effects, you know, and stuff. And the lyrics were of our, you know, like our own experiences. You know,
straight to the point.
You know, yeah.
We were all living in working class.
Real things that affect us.
Yeah.
We need to
but
change.
we kind of generalised a lot. I mean, as we went on, got a little bit better writers, we hope, you know, like we actually started to name names.
Yeah.
You know.
I found punk quite kind of philosophical, really.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I really hate about it now? I meet people now who I didn't know about then, and when I go on about punk and I talk about it with passion, and they sit there and they go, we never thought punk like that, because they believe the media. We thought we're all spitting and beating people up and
swearing on TV.
It's been so devalued by the media. It's a disgrace, to be honest. I think.
Well, it would be. You know why?
It's for a threat.
You know why? The media's all about money.
Well, yeah, exactly.
And they want chuck one thing out, right? That's gone. New thing, you know, and
keep us spending.
You know, it's the money go round, you know. But they didn't realise that punk's going to be forever.
I've got an interesting. I met this guy from the 60s. You, like I said, you were 30, so you would have seen the 60s. I met this guy in London years ago. I lived down in Brixton, and we were talking about the differences with the 60s and the 70s. And he was saying, he says, unless you were really rich in the 60s, all the things they were singing and talking about weren't accessible. It was just talking. He says all the things we were talking about in the 60s happened during punk. A lot of the things that we're talking, I just wonder what your thoughts are.
Yeah. No, I always looked at it as a parallel, right? The thing is about the 60s, it was the kids who had lots of money. We were still living with our parents, you know, even like in tenement flats, you know, that little flat, but we were living with our parents, and we had money to, you know, work in, and things were cheap, and we had money to buy suits and nice clothes and stuff, scooters, nice cars. I never had one. So I went around with a little Italian guy who had a little Maserati, you know, and we had fun in the 60s. You know,
closest.
You know, a few of my mates, well, not a few, but out of a dozen of us, maybe 3 of them had cars. One had a Mini, and he was a giant. He got in this little Mini, you know. And the other one had this, you know, them little MG, old
MG
30 looking.
yeah.
So he had had one of them, yeah. So someone nicked it and crashed it. Yeah.
Closest I got to one was chasing one down the street. Well, we didn't have cars in the punk days, we couldn't afford cars. That's why we walked to the Sex Festival, because there were no transport, no cars, no anything.
I had a cheap little motorbike, 125, until I crashed that.
What bands did you like in the 60s?
Oh, just about, you name it, everyone.
Well, when punk finished, I got into the garage psychedelic thing, and I found all these wonderful.
I've got all those nuggets things. Yeah,
there was some fabulous.
I absolutely, well, I love most of that stuff, but I absolutely love the Sonics.
I want to see them. That's long.
Yeah.
They were
I see them every time I could. All those bands, Seeds, everybody. Grace Slick, one of my favourite singers, and Janis Joplin, all that stuff I've always loved.
I liked a band called The Music Machine. I got in touch with Sean Barlow, the singer. I wrote to him in America because I kind of got a bit obsessed with them, because they were singing about topics that we were singing about. And I bought his book off him and all his backlog of. He'd got into religion by this point.
No, I knew the club. We played in the club. I didn't know there was an actual band.
There was a band called Bonnet. Well, they were really cool as well. They all wore black, and they had like them Beatles haircuts, and they all used to wear one black leather glove. And they just looked really cool, and the music was completely different to all the other bands as well. But they were singing about topics that we're singing about now. A lot of those kids were just singing about stuff that Teddy Boys were singing about, getting off with girls or weird relationships or cars and stuff. But these were singing about the environment and stuff like that. But they had one hit called Talk, and it charted in some parts of America. And then he got into religion. But
there was two albums. One was called The Music Machine. And then the second one was called The Music Machine Turns You On.
That's them.
No, but it was their compilation album.
Oh, I know which one, John, but their LP was called, the Music Machine band, their LP was called Turn On. And they had one called...
I made a mistake there. They were called Rock Machine. Rock Machine Turns You On.
With the grey sleeves.
Yeah. I can't remember, it's 50 years ago.
I don't remember because I saw them every day.
I don't want to butt in. I know it's your interview. I'm just. You've named the bands you liked and stuff like that, but when you actually perceived yourself as a punk band on the scene, doing the circuit.
Well, rock and roll was kind of even young then, and living in London, I'd got to see everybody.
Yeah.
Like you're talking about ska, I lived in Brixton.
Yeah.
When I saw Prince Buster live, I saw James Brown in Brixton.
More than me, mate.
I just saw everybody.
Yeah.
Jimi Hendrix in a club as big as this room.
So you've just mentioned the icon for
well,
me.
I saw it in the Flamingo. Yeah. I think it was the basement part of it because it was on 3 levels.
Yeah.
And he was playing in a room as big as this.
Yeah.
And then he played the marquee. That was full, like 6 months later or something, and then he just exploded. But I just went to see everyone. I'm just a music fan,
Yeah.
Do you think you're lucky, really?
Yeah, my God.
I'd love to have seen 60s and then do the punk thing as well. In that order, as it should have been done. So you're really lucky.
Yeah. Charlie, your longevity in the scene or in the culture, how do you pursue that now? Pursue that in your mind, the longevity you've had?
Yeah, it's just, I always put it down to rock and roll and beer, simple as that.
Wear shades.
Shades. You're on stage for an hour, like giving it some, and and it's good for the heart, good for the soul, and we try and get people out there dancing, and